Was Buford Pusser actually exhumed? Stick around and watch the drama. The short answer to that question is no. Buford Pusser was never exhumed, but it wasn't due to a lack of effort on the part of Helen Pusser, his mother. It's Tuesday, September 28th, 1976. Newspapers carried the story that the body of McNairy County Sheriff Buford Pusser, the subject matter of the movie Walking Tall, was to be exhumed just in 2 days. Helen Pusser gave her permission for him to be exhumed. She had a business partner, Larry Britt, who claimed to be an investigator, and they were looking into the death of Buford to see if he was murdered. Now, Tennessee law permitted the exhumation of a person with the family's permission, and Britt wanted to prove that it was murder that took Buford's life, not just an accident, and that he'd arranged for a toxicologist, a pathologist, and a pharmacologist to check Buford's body tissue for signs of poisoning that Britt claimed was the cause of the accident that took Buford's life. Now, not everybody in the family was all right with the exhumation. As a matter of fact, Carl Pusser, Buford's father, and John, his brother, were totally against it, and they went to the DA. The DA called Britt before grand jury, and he testified that Buford was murdered in a conspiracy carried out by state and national crime figures. Of course, Harry Peeler was in there as well, and claiming that there was no reason to exhume Buford. The district attorney explained that the TBI had done an exhaustive investigation into Pusser's death and found nothing other than an accident, and he called Britt's story just too incredible to believe. Of course, all of this resulted in a brief court battle in which the court ruled that there should be no exhumation as the family was so split on what to do. With the autopsy postponed, Buford's mother, 68-year-old Helen, vowed that she would continue her efforts to have his body autopsied, saying that she and Buford's 16-year-old daughter, Dewana, believed that testing would show that Buford had been lethally poisoned before he left the fairgrounds as he headed home the night of his death. Be sure and subscribe and hit that bell so that you'll get notifications of new videos when they're released. It's now Wednesday, September 22nd of 1976, when the Jackson Sun would report that Helen was protesting the continued production of the Walking Tall sequel, and she was still making claims that while Buford was at the county fair, someone had slipped a poison into a soft drink, even though a lot of other people at the county fair reported smelling alcohol on his breath. She also claimed that she had received threatening phone calls about the autopsy, telling her not to have it done, but she couldn't be specific on the details of the call. Now, all of this resulted in something that Helen didn't really expect. And that was that people would get to wondering where she was getting money to have this investigation done. So they started looking into things. And this is when they learned that she had been using Dewana's trust fund to fund the investigation. And there was a lot of speculation that her business manager and investigator, Larry Britt, was taking advantage of her financially and every which way. He was even staying at her house for a period of 6 months. He also purchased 2 Lincoln Continentals using money from the trust fund. That was a tremendous amount of money to buy 2 new cars like that. The court started to step in, and that's what the next episode is going to be all about, is the investigation into Helen Pusser mishandling Dewana's trust fund. Now, I never got to meet Helen Pusser, so I have no personal knowledge of her, but I have spoken to many people who did get to meet Helen, and they described her as a warm, caring human being. And of course, I would have been disappointed in her had she not really believed Buford's stories. I mean, she's a mother. Of course, she's going to believe what her son says. But I do believe that Buford often misled her in what was going on. Of course, there were others that told a very different story, that while Helen could be kind and sweet to people, she also had a dark side like Buford, that if someone crossed her, she could be very antagonistic and go after them. And I think we'll see that in the next episode when we get into all the proceedings about her using Dewana's trust fund to fund the investigation into Buford's death. In this next episode, I intend to get into more about Larry Britt as well, who he was, what he did, some of the things that were so questionable about how he was spending money from Dewana's trust fund. That's a whole different story than what a lot of people know. At any rate, that'll do it for today. We'll have this next episode out soon, and I hope you enjoy this episode as well as next. Please leave your comments. I want to hear what you think now that you know more about this situation. It's important. It's something that we need to discuss, especially with everything that's ongoing at the current time. So, that having been said, just remember, truth has no agenda. Thanks for watching.